In this video, I'm going to show you guys some lawn care tips and tricks to get a nice, healthy, thick yard just in time for summer, so follow along. The warm weather seems like it is officially here to stay now. We have a beautiful day outside. When doing yard work, you want to make sure that the temperatures are going to be above zero and that there's no frost in the forecast. I have a trailer load of tools behind me here that I'm going to use for this video to work on this yard. This is the yard behind me here. It's in pretty good shape, but I'll show you a little closer up that it definitely needs some TLC. There's a lot of patchy and bare spots with no grass growing. It's also quite bumpy, and then there's sections like this back corner here that is really bumpy and the grass really isn't growing well. This section gets a lot of shade and it's hard to grow grass in shade. You need to use specific grass seed built for shade. So let's get to this video. The first thing we want to do is give the grass a cut. We want to cut it as low as possible. Most lawnmowers have an adjustment for the depth, so I've just lowered mine as low as I can possibly go. I'm going to cut the entire yard here, which is important because we want to get rid of all this grass and get a nice fresh starting point. When cutting the grass, if you have a collection bag, make sure that you put it on your lawnmower. We want to collect all the clippings. If you don't have one, you're going to have to rake up all the clippings or blow them off. We don't want to leave them on the yard as we want to create room for grass seed to grow and for new grass. After a winter, you get a lot of material that gets built up on top of the ground, which is called thatch. It's essentially organic material, dead grass, leaves, compost. It builds up on top of the soil and it inhibits that soil from actually being able to absorb nutrients. It prevents the nutrients from going into the ground. It also prevents grass seed from being able to take place and grow. So we want to remove this thatch, and to do this you can either use a dethatcher or pay someone to come and dethatch it. I have a simpler way of doing it. This here is called a dethatching blade that goes on your lawnmower. It essentially has these spikes that dig into the ground as it spins, and it loosens all that material off the ground, and then it goes into your lawnmower. Typically, lawnmowers have one nut that holds the blade on. If you remove that, you can put one of these dethatching blades on. These are universal, so they should fit most lawnmowers. Here's a closer look at this dethatching blade. I believe it costs around $30 or $40. I've had this now for 3 or 4 seasons and it works really well. These spikes spin and they dig into the ground and loosen up all that material. So now we're going to use the lawnmower with the dethatching blade and go over the entire yard again, which is going to remove all that thatch. And again, if you have one of these collection bags, it collects everything, so it goes straight from the yard into the bag and then you can get rid of it. Otherwise, rake it off the lawn, blow it off the lawn. You want to get rid of that. The whole point is to create space for new grass to grow and remove all this stuff that's blocking the soil and nutrients from going in. As you can see, now that we're done dethatching, the soil is a lot more open up. All the dead grass is gone, so now there's more room for new growth. Next thing I like to do is to roll the entire yard with a roller. The one you see behind me here, I'm filling with water. It holds 85 liters and it's small enough that you can push it, but it's heavy enough that it's going to flatten out some of the bumps in this yard so that we have a nice flat base to work with. I got a couple new yard tools that I'm going to be opening up here and using throughout this video. These are both from a company called Lanzi. In my opinion, Lanzi makes the best quality yard tools on the market, especially for the price, which is very reasonable. I've been using their tools now for 2 years and they are great quality. I have a yard leveling rake here. This is super handy for top dressing and leveling out a yard. It spreads soil around really easy. And then I also got this really neat tow or push behind aerator. So the way this thing works is you fill it with water and then you can push it or tow it. It has hollow plugs so it removes soil from the ground. I always recommend for people to aerate their yard in the spring. What aerating does is it allows nutrients to go back into your soil. It improves your soil health, allows drainage, and makes room for new grass to grow as well. So I just aerated this entire backyard, which is the next step I'd recommend. I just went to the local landscape supplier and picked up a yard of top dressing soil. So this is typically made up of compost and sand, which is nice and lightweight. It's perfect for covering grass seed because the grass can still grow and breathe through it. And then I picked up some grass seed. So this backyard has a mixture of sun and shade, so I made sure to buy grass seed that was for sun and shade. As you can see on this tag, it breaks down what kind of seed there is. So there's 50% red fescue, 30% ryegrass, and 20% Kentucky bluegrass. This is a great mixture for sun and shade. Make sure you get the right grass seed for your backyard. We're now going to take this seed and put it into a spreader. I'm using about 3 to 4 kilos of grass seed here for this backyard. I like to put it down heavy, and then I'm going to walk the entire backyard and just use the spreader to spread the seed out. In order for grass seed to grow, it needs to stay wet. So you need to cover the seed after you've put it down with something. I like to use this top dressing soil that I mentioned earlier. So I'm using the wheelbarrow and I'm dumping it in little piles along the yard. And now I have this yard leveling rake from Landsy, which I showed you guys earlier. This is going to spread this soil around evenly, put a nice thin layer over top of everything. It'll cover up the grass seed. It will also fill in all the low spots, which is going to make this yard less bumpy. And it's going to be the perfect thing to keep moisture in so that this grass seed can grow nicely. If there's one tool that I'd recommend for you guys to purchase, it would be this yard leveling rake from Landsy. It's honestly one of the best yard tools you can buy. It's relatively cheap. It costs around $100 US. I have a discount code BEN10 to save you another 10%. This tool is going to help your yard work game. It's going to make your yard look a lot better. It flattens everything, spreads the top dressing soil nice and evenly, so you're not going to waste material. It's so much easier to use than a normal rake. Look at how flat I got the backyard. Now that all the soil is down, I like to roll it one last time with the yard roller. This is going to help to compact everything. It's going to make sure that the grass seed gets forced into that soil that we just put down, so that if it rains heavily, it's not going to wash away. Now that I'm done rolling it, you can see how flat and level this yard is. All the low spots are filled in, the bumps are gone. So to recap, we're done all the steps now. First thing to do is cut your grass and then dethatch it, aerate it, roll it, put down grass seed, cover the seed with some type of soil, and then roll it one last time so that seed doesn't wash away. The last thing you have to do is water it. Grass seed needs to stay wet to grow, so water it twice a day for at least a week. I'm using some starter fertilizer. This is going to help boost the soil with some nutrients to help it grow better. Anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section down below.